welcome to another episode of Connect with KB. I am so happy to have you tuning in. We are going to talk about business, education, and leadership, and all the wonderful things that connect us to each other. My guest today is the Government and Community Relations Coordinator for the Michigan Child Protection Registry. She's committed to being on the front line to protect kids from adult-themed content on phones, tablets, and other electronic devices, and works with parents and schools all over Michigan to educate and safeguard against predators. I want to welcome to the podcast my very dear friend, Alisha Meneely. Alisha, it's so good to have you here.
Thanks, Kristen. I've been wanting you to ask me for some time.
Well, this is so great. And, you know, I should have done it sooner. You and I are neighbors over in Grand Rapids. We get to see each other often. And so I'm really surprised that we haven't done this before. But welcome to Spotlight Studios in Lansing. It's good to have you here. And I want you to share with the listeners the Alisha Meneely story. Tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Caledonia, which used to be this small farming town. It isn't anymore. It's huge. Since I've been born, I knew I was going to go to Michigan State University.
Go green.
So, yep, go white. I definitely, that was my plan. I was kind of a different teenager than most. I was lucky. I always knew what I wanted to do in high school, which, I have my own kids now, and it scares me that they may not have a clue what they want to do come junior, senior year of high school. I knew I wanted to be in law. I knew I wanted to do something with government, but I had no clue what that even really looked like. So I was lucky enough, a family friend of mine, the Posthumases, I grew up with, and I knew, Dick very well. I knew he was a state senator. And when he came to my graduation party, my high school graduation party, I had said to him, I really want to intern with you. And he said, okay, you need to have a 3.5, and I will hire you when you are a junior. And I worked my butt off and got a 3.5 and called him, and he hired me for the summer between my sophomore year and junior year, and I loved it. He was the Senate Majority Leader at the time. I loved it. I loved the pace. I loved talking about policy. I loved the people in Lansing. I was hooked immediately. And my career kind of went from there. I graduated from Michigan State with a political science pre-law degree, and then Dick hired me when he started running for governor. And I ran his Women for Posthumous campaign, handled all of his women-type legislation. The best thing I ever did during that time, though, was I ran the Michigan Domestic Violence Homicide Prevention Task Force. I knew nothing about domestic violence, and it was the best thing I ever did. We passed 23 laws from that task force. And as you know, Dick lost.
Yes, I do.
Well, definitely one of the most confusing, hardest times of my life. So a girlfriend and I said, screw it, let's go down on vacation. And we went to the Florida Keys for a long weekend and decided to move down there. Literally came back home, sold my car, sold my house, quit my job. And her and I got in the car and drove down to the Keys, and it was a fantastic 2 years. But I came back. I really knew I wanted to stick with women and children issues. But I didn't want to live in Lansing. And I got a job with MAPSA, probably one of the best jobs I've ever had. It's the Michigan Association of Public School Academies.
Dan Quisenberry's a great guy.
Fantastic. He was a great boss. Everyone on staff was awesome. I got to travel the state talking about charter schools, and I loved it. And then when I got an opportunity, I got asked a phone call actually asking if I'd be interested in working for the Michigan Child Protection Registry. And I took a leap and did something different, and I absolutely love it.
How long have you been doing that now?
8 years.
Okay. Yeah, that 8 years has gone by quick.
It has.
Let's talk about that role. What is it that you do on behalf of Michigan's children and their families?
So my job kind of consists of two different things. My day-to-day is I'm contacting schools, employers like Meyer, Steelcase, prevention type coalitions and nonprofits, and I'm asking them to market the registry online or in a newsletter that they have. Schools are probably my main go-to. I contact them all over the state, asking them to put information about the registry in their parent newsletter.
And what is that? What does the registry do? If somebody does sign up for that, what kind of resources does it provide for them?
So you as a parent or caregiver would go in and you would register you and your children's email, cell phone, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. And they will stop receiving any kind of products, any marketing from products that a minor shouldn't be receiving in the first place. So alcohol, tobacco, which also includes vaping, pornography, gambling, and then here in the state of Michigan, marijuana. All of those things minors can't, purchase anyways. So it'll stop all ads from coming into those inboxes. So like your spam account, it'll even, that's like a 9-year-old boy's favorite place to go, unfortunately, sometimes. It even stops it from going in there. It completely blocks them.
How do you then, how many people are on this registry right now?
Between here and the state of Utah, we have over 1 million contact points. Is
Michigan one of the biggest in regards to the amount of people? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about how prevalent this is in communities. And, when you talk about Michigan and you talk about Utah, are there particular regions in Michigan that are more susceptible to having this happen, or is it just everywhere? I mean, it's probably everywhere. UP, you name it.
It is everywhere. Utah, so the registry is only in 2 states. It's only in the state of Michigan and Utah, unfortunately. The goal is to get it in every state. But Utah, which is kind of strange, has one of the biggest pornography problems in the United States when it comes to people seeing online pornography. But anywhere you have vulnerable adults or teenagers, this is a huge problem. I go to a lot of anti-pornography conferences, and I do a lot of workshops where they look at the brain as a child, and they show when a child sees pornography the first time, it's almost like an adult doing crack for the first time. It lights up their brain waves, and they automatically become addicted. So between pornography and I believe the tobacco vaping industry, they are probably worse when it comes to marketing to young children.
Really?
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit then about what are some of the things that people can do to educate, what you're doing, but also for parents in regards to, pornography or, even, drugs and that kind of thing. Should they be talking to their kids about this? Or should they just be taking measures to protect them from the internet to do this? How does that all come together for the best messaging?
Both. And even though I do this on a daily basis, it's hard for me to keep up and talk to my kids. But it's definitely both. Step one is, just like when you talk to your kids about walking to school on their own or doing anything for the first time, you try and have a good conversation with them. The last thing I always tell parents you want to do is, hey, if you go to this website, you're grounded or you're going to get your phone taken away. I think parents need to be more upfront with their kids about what they could possibly see and then give them steps to take when they do see it. And I always tell parents, if they come to you and say, I clicked on something, there's a bunch of naked pictures on my screen, and they're usually extremely upset, do not get upset back. Do not embarrass them. Do not punish them. They came to you, and make sure that you explain to them that what they did was correct.
About coming to you.
About coming to yes. Because you know what the thing is I tell parents, they're going to see it. You can put in so many parental controls and talk to them all you want, but they could be at a friend's house. They could click on something that they did not know what they were clicking on. But the other thing that a lot of parents don't know about is there's so many layers of protection that parents can, called parental controls. You can have parental controls on your router, your internet at home. You can have parental controls on every device you and your children have. And then there's some apps like Instagram that have parental controls too. I could talk for hours about that. But so what I tell parents to do is just Google Xbox parental controls, and it'll show you a list of parental controls step by step on what you can do to keep your kids safe.
Do you think that parents are naive in thinking that their kids are not doing these things, and even young children that are not doing these things?
Absolutely. I think it's being naive, but also they're busy as it is.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't even keep up with all the new apps. It could be a full-time job trying to see, looking at the history of what your kids are looking at, learning the apps that they're using, trying to protect them. It is a full-time job. So I tell parents, do the best that you can. I think talking to them is definitely hands down the best, but don't put a ton of pressure on you either. I also tell parents, if your kids are on Snapchat, you got to be on Snapchat, even if you don't want to. You got to be on Facebook if they're on Facebook. You need to be able to talk to them at their level.
You bet. And the thing is too, I also probably in many of these ways, technology obviously is changing all the time. And so this has made it so much more complex with different platforms for kids to be able to get on. I mean, they know so much more than we do in regards to kind of those things, TikTok or whatever it might be, that are very enticing to them. Talk to me a little bit about kids' responsibility too. We've for years heard about bullying on the playground. But there really is so much of this cyberbullying going on as well. And how can parents help talk to their kids a little bit about the appropriate things to do and how to communicate on the internet?
It's interesting you're asking me this question now because I'm actually going this weekend up north to a student leadership conference where I'm going to be talking to kids for the first time. I'm not used to doing that. I'm usually talking to parents. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking to them about is what they can do to make social media safer and teach their peers how to be better people on the internet, just like you should be a good person on the playground. One of the things I am going to talk to the kids about is that cyberbullying here in the state of Michigan is illegal. You can go to jail. There are fees. You can get in big trouble for cyberbullying. But honestly, one of the biggest things I think schools should try and get kids to do is some kind of campaign. Social media campaign, anti-bullying campaign right in their school and make that student group responsible for all of it. The marketing, the TikTok videos, the flyers, the social media advocacy day, whatever they want to do. But I really do think it's got to be peer-to-peer. Parents can talk about this stuff to their kids every single day, and it might not get through to them. They think we're too old.
Well, I was going to ask you that question about parents thinking that they're getting through to their kids. Is that true? Do you hear all the time where the kids might, and I don't know how often you get to talk to the kids, but do they say, the parent might say, I did talk to them about this, and the kid's like, no, you didn't.
Absolutely. They don't get deep enough.
Yeah.
They don't get deep enough. And they don't want to scare they're worried about scaring their kids, I think, at the same time, too, talking about this, traffickers or other kind of predators looking online for kids. Kids are so vulnerable, and half the time, no, kids are not going to do what their parents tell them to do specifically.
Well, I saw this quote that I thought was kind of neat about the way that we talk to our children becomes their inner voice. And so they really do. They have to continue talking to them. And it can't just be one conversation. I mean, it has to be consistent and it has to be often to make sure that it's resonating, that they're listening, because their development's going to change too. They're going to get older and more mature, and they're going to probably have more experiences where they've seen some of these things. And so continuing that conversation with them is important.
Yeah, one thing I would say that would help with that, I tell parents all the time, is to have a written social media contract that the whole family signs and abides by. I mean, it's everything from no cell phones at the dinner table, no, internet after 8 o'clock. You can make it up as a family, but the parents have to abide by the same rules, and you should place it on a refrigerator or somewhere where everybody can see it. And then that'll remind parents too to continue to talk about it and bring these things up.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And, again, as technology continues to change and kids have more access, and are you finding that young people are getting phones much earlier than they were before too? And, maybe even talk about your own kids and the conversations that you have with them. And they probably are a little sometimes, Mom, I wish this was not your career, because you probably talk a lot about it and you're very knowledgeable.
They do. I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son, and I have to be honest, they are probably the youngest people that have heard about pornography that out of all of my friends and family. They know what it is. They know what to do. So what I tell parents, yes, it blows my mind how I sometimes see kindergartners with an iPhone. But parents ask me all the time, what's the best age that I should get my kid a cell phone? I tell parents, every family is different. Every child is different. I have a 12-year-old son. He's a good kid. He gets good grades. He's very responsible. He normally does what I tell him to do. I got him an an Android when he was 12 years old because I wholeheartedly believed he was ready. He's not into social media. He really just wanted a phone to communicate with his friends. He likes looking at sports on the phone. We talk about what he can and can't do a lot, but he understands it all. Now, I have a daughter that's 9. I would be surprised if I give her a cell phone before she graduates from high school. Every kid's different, and I don't know how much I could trust her. She's going to want to go right to Instagram and right to Snapchat, and that's not happening. So it is going to be an awful fight, I believe, when she does get a cell phone.
Well, and being honest about it too, and talking about the reality of kids and their personalities and how they are, and just that constant communication with them and messaging about how dangerous this can be. And you really are just trying to protect them. Talk to me a little bit again about the parental controls. Do you have parental controls on your phones for your kids right now?
I do. So one of the things I always tell parents too is get them whatever phone you have, the exact same phone, because you already know how to use it. And so I have an Android. And so there's an app for parents and their kids to have what's called Family Link. It's the Family Link app. I can look at, he cannot download an app unless I okay it.
Okay.
I can look on my phone and I can see what apps he's using at what time of day and which ones he's using the most. I can cut off his time on his phone if I want to. There's a GPS. I see where he's at. I know who he's calling from my phone, who he's texting from my phone. So every cell phone has a parental control app. You just have to hook it up to your kid's app as well. Now, they're going to know that app is there. So you have to be mindful that they could delete that, so that you're going to have to check out their phone. I do. I probably check out my son's phone once a week. I just scroll through it, see what kind of things are on there and aren't. And because this app usually tells me most of what he has anyways, I don't have any surprises.
Right. How do you continue down this path of passion for you? And, you've been so committed to women and children's issues. You served on the Michigan Women's Commission through the state of Michigan. Do you see something coming that you would also like to get into, like over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I just don't know. I couldn't name it, but I know I want to kind of stay the social media, internet, anti-pornography, anti-human trafficking route, and that's a lot. That's a lot of words. Social media is not going away, and it's great. That's one thing, I feel like we talk very negatively about it. It's something that we probably cannot live without again, and it's just going to get more. So I want to stay kind of in this world, helping families and kids navigate how to use it to make them a better person. But also, cell phones and social media has a lot now is in the human trafficking world. Traffickers, they used to go to malls, arcades, and they could probably only groom a couple victims at a time, where now that there's the internet, they can sit on their couch and groom dozens of young girls and boys at the same time. So that really is my passion, and I would like to stick down that path somehow, whether it's help push legislation, whether it's train parents more on human trafficking and internet safety. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to continue down that path.
Yeah. What are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned? You've had such a great journey. And, as you said, you came on to Dick Posthumus's team. You were probably 19 years old at the time. You and I worked together many, many moons ago.
So fun.
You were so young.
So fun.
I think I was young too. What are some of those great life lessons you've learned?
Actually, you prepped me for this, which I'm very thankful for, but I'm very embarrassed to say what that is. When I was younger, especially starting out in politics, if I had to deal with someone that didn't agree with me or didn't want to vote for a certain bill or help me with something in the legislature, I immediately wrote them off. They're a terrible person. They're stupid. I don't ever want to work with them again. What's wrong with them? And as I have gotten older, I have learned to work with people that think differently than me and have grace and know that it's all about the relationship. And at some point, those people are going to come around again probably, and you're going to have to work with them again or ask them for another favor. Or maybe you're going to find something you agree on. I really regret, I think I probably not only offended some people when I was younger, but I cut them off way too early professionally. And that is something I really try hard. If someone disagrees with me now, I don't even get offended. I feel like we can still have a good conversation and maybe work together in the future. So that's something I really, really try and pay attention to now compared to just saying, oh, you're an idiot, I'm never working with you again.
That is so honest. You are a lifelong learner, my friend, and I'm so glad you came on with me today. Talk about how people can get connected to the registry.
It's super easy. You just go to www.protectmychild.com, and it's MI for Michigan, protectmychild.com, and it only takes minutes. You'll register, like I said, you and your children's cell phone, email, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. It'll only take minutes. You're on it for 3 years. And you as a parent, after 3 years, you'll receive an email saying, hey, do you still want to be on this registry? Are there any updates? Because by then your kid could be 21, 22 years old. And, you take them off the registry. So you'll always get that 3-year reminder.
Great. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks,
I appreciate you. You're the best.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I want to thank my guest, Alisha Meneely with the Michigan Child Protection Registry. I also want to thank my supporting sponsors, Downing Industries, Governmental Consultant Services, AF Group, Public Affairs Associates, and Mercantile Bank. You can listen to all of my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristen Belzer.